Computer Whiz Kid, Broomball Banter, and Gold Record Producer. This is Behind the News.
Good evening and welcome once again to Behind the News. I'm Bob Smith. Tonight a look at the sport of broomball. It's catching on in a big way in Midwestern Ontario. In fact, two of the best teams in the province are from the Owen Sound area. And we'll meet up with music producer Jack Richardson, who's worked with the likes of Bob Seger and Alice Cooper. But first, he's only 20 years old, but Mark Steffen has made a name for himself in the computer world. The Wingham man owns a $500,000 internet access company and recently won international acclaim. First, we take you back to the early efforts of building internet access in Midwestern Ontario. Then Maya Sari and cameraman Ward Robertson bring you the remarkable story of Mark Steffen.
The information superhighway links computers all over the world. These computers are usually owned and maintained by large companies or institutions. It's considered a cost of doing business. Rural areas, however, have fewer big companies, smaller institutions, a spread-out population. No one group can afford to link up. Two community steering committees are working with researchers at the University of Guelph to establish rural access to internet for all county residents. Jerry Eastman is the chair of the North Wellington Computer Access Network.
Our group is working to put together the team of people and the hardware and the software, or the infrastructure, to bring what's known as a free space, so that all the people in North Wellington that have a computer, or maybe not even have a computer, can dial in and get access to information on a global scale.
Mark Steffen doesn't have to leave home to go to work in the morning. The 20-year-old takes the drive into his Kitchener office about once a week. The rest of the time, he can work from home on his computer. His business?
What we wanted to achieve was affordable rural internet access at a flat rate where parents can let their children use the internet without worrying about that, $89 or $120 internet bill that was going to come in the mail.
Steffen Open Systems, through its bulletin board, The Fix, now provides internet access in local calling ranges from Stratford to Owen Sound. In February, a Florida-based ranking of computer bulletin boards called the Select Guide to BBSs on the Internet placed The Fix 15th in the world. Bringing internet to the country hasn't been easy. Large public efforts to do so suffered serious setbacks when the Harris government cut funding. So the job was left to private companies, and one of the first in our area to do so was started by a 19-year-old.
So I started out initially in 1987 when my parents bought me a 300 baud modem for my Commodore 64. And I started running a bulletin board back then, and it just sort of gradually evolved onto newer, faster computers. And then in about the fall of 1989, we added our second line so people could actually get on and talk to each other at the same time. And that was probably one of the most amazing points of it, because people could get online and interact together at the same time.
While two lines were interacting in Wingham, thousands of computers were beginning to form a network all over the world. Today, the internet connects millions. It is changing the way we do business, seek entertainment, communicate, and find information. Mark was eager to keep on the cutting edge of this new technology, but internet access was limited to large institutions or companies, and those were a long-distance phone call away. For Mark's parents, that meant about 2 years of phone bills topping $300 every month. Frustrated by the expense, Mark gathered about 40 people in the area to split the costs of a designated leased line. By October of 1994, Mark's local bulletin board, now named The Fix, became its own jump-off point to a world of computers on the internet. Just over 1 year later, the company incorporated and brought on 3 other partners. Mark is the president of what should soon be a $500,000 company.
I never really cared because everything kind of happened so quickly. I wasn't really paying attention. So, this is just, to me, a huge expansion of my little hobby that I started a long time ago, so I'm just having fun.
Membership to The Fix has continued to grow, but then so has the number of other internet providers vying for a share of this new market. Mark says he doesn't begrudge anyone trying to make a go of it, and in some cases, he's been known to actively encourage other service providers. Brian Verkley and Stephen Blatchford run Gateway, an internet access company in the Listowel area. Poor toll-free calling ranges in the area made it unattractive for Steffen Open Systems to target. But when these two high school students wanted to get something going, they found a strong support in Mark.
It was nice because, he's only 1 year older than what we are. He's only going on 20 this year. So, just a bunch of kids, and it was pretty easy. Very smart kid, he knew a lot of things and taught us a whole bunch of stuff. and he was very patient with us, so it was extremely good for us.
The non-profit network Hometown has lines in the same area as Stefan Open Systems.
The very first thing I did when I was hired by Hometown is go to Mark and ask for guidance and advice. I've got a long string of university degrees, and the one thing I learned from that was smart enough to go to somebody that has demonstrated that they know what they're doing. He's offered more help than we've actually taken from him. There's some areas where effectively we're competing. It doesn't appear to bother Mark. He's still saying, yeah, sure, this is good for the community. I want to see this done.
Being an internet provider in a rural area doesn't come cheap and doesn't necessarily make good business sense, says Mark.
It costs about 4 or 5 times as much to provide internet access in rural areas, and you get maybe a 10th or a 15th of the market that you'd get for the same investment in a larger center.
Even the necessary telephone lines that carry the internet messages were hard to arrange. And as membership grew, the lines in the country were simply not big enough to handle the load.
The reason we moved to Kitchener wasn't to focus on a city market more of. It was mainly just so that we could get faster access. Bell would not put in anything faster than 56K for us in Wingham, and we needed a T1 line because we had enough customers and it was getting kind of slow. And so again, we had to move to Kitchener, and then what we did is we had our T1 line in Kitchener, and we just ran 56K from Kitchener to Clinton, Kitchener to Wingham, Kitchener to Hanover, and Kitchener to Owen Sound, so that we could kind of split it all up.
Linking small-town Ontario has been an educational experience, says Mark, but his vision for the future goes much further.
I'd like to maybe see about, going national, maybe hitting all 5 or 6 major Canadian cities and going from there. I don't know. See what happens.
The firm has recently been ranked number 15 in North America-wide survey of internet providers.
From the outside, it looks like another shop in another busy business mall, in this case, Victoria Street North in Kitchener. But step inside and you're on your way to the rest of the world, internet style, through a service called The Fix.
We've always called it that, mainly because once you get onto a system like a bulletin board, you tend to spend a lot of time on there chatting with people and stuff like that, and it becomes addictive, hence The Fix, and, it was just a name that kind of stuck.
What's also sticking is a reputation for innovation and service. They're now number 15 in a survey of similar internet providers. Not bad for a service that had to move out of Wingham a couple of years ago in search of bigger and better telephone lines in Kitchener.
Since the internet's so big, you could be searching for hours.
Company Vice President William Scott says people new to the internet can be swamped by the choices. That's where Stefan Open Systems steps in and lets customers step up to a better level of understanding.
The front end, our online service, offers more of a stepping stone to the internet. So basically, people can chat, they can get a hold of files directly from our system, so they don't have to go through the internet to do that.
Big selling points here include a teleconference for computer chat across Midwestern Ontario and a file library that takes the guesswork out of hunting for files and programs across the vast and growing internet.
Of course, once you've tapped into one of the services offered here, there's no telling what you might find. In Kitchener, Jim Alexander, CKCO Action News.
And by the way, you can reach the CKCO website any day, any time for updates on news, programs, and other features. Our electronic address is www.ckco-tv.com. Canadians are stashing away their money in mutual funds.